What's up, guys? We are live tonight. If I sound funny at all, or please, first thing, can somebody put in the chat if they can actually hear me? I have this weird microphone issue. I'm not sure if this microphone is even working. But if I do sound funny, I do have a Czech Republic cold. I did get some kind of crazy, issue over there. Hey, Matt Welter, what's up, man? Thanks for being here. Bagel Square said he just went to the Capital One Lounge in Washington Dulles. It is awesome, Bagel Square. Keith S says he can hear me fine. Okay, so I know I sound funny, and it is because I did get like a little bug over there in Czechia or Czech Republic, however you prefer to say it. And I didn't want to do the live, but this is actually me powering through this because I wanted to get a couple things off my chest about this trip. I did learn a lot. I did make a few mistakes, and I wanted to kind of process this with you guys while it was still fresh in my mind. We do have a few people here, and that's awesome. Guys, if you don't mind, hit that like button. We got Keith S., Johnny Jimenez, we got Vincent Pascal, and Joe Taylor. PG's here. What's up, PG? Boricua, forever. JJ is in the house. Thank you guys for being here. And again, I apologize for my voice. Ever since I got back from the Czech Republic, I've had a pretty bad cold, and it's getting kind of worse. But this is me showing some dedication instead of being in bed right now. I'm going to go ahead and report some things for you guys because I think some of these things will be interesting to some of you, especially you travelers. So let's get right started, man. I want to talk about where I just came. I do have some notes over here, so I'm not like texting on my phone or anything. John Corbett, what's up? Wilfredo Gomez. Guys, I just got back from Prague, Czech Republic, and it is one of the top most visited cities in Europe. So it's a pretty popular destination. First thing I want to say about it is what they say it is. It's beautiful. It's the architecture is, I hate to use the word stunning, but it is exactly what you think it is, and it's better than the pictures. What's up, Jason Kane? SoCal Skater, yes, I am back in the U.S. I'm back home. I've actually been at work the last couple of days. I don't take off work for being sick. I only take off work to go travel, or to do stuff with my family. But Czechia, Prague, Czech Republic, 100%. It is as advertised. A couple things that I will say, in my opinion, it is a really great place to take your significant other. The beautiful architecture, a lot of the things you would want to do is probably skewed towards couples things. Really fun. I went with my old Navy buddy, Dino, and we had a blast. I think it would be really fun for a younger single person. I didn't really go out at night, but I do know that Friday we were there, things were looking like they were super, super wild on the nightlife end. Nightlife, not so much my thing, but really fun stuff. But Prague, Czech Republic. First thing I want to say about it is this is a side quest city. This is not Rome or London or a place where you go for a week or 10 days. This is a side quest city where you go to Vienna or you go to Paris or Berlin, and then you take the train to Prague for 2 or 3 days. You can get just about everything done in 2 or 3 days. I would say 2 days, but if you don't want to run 100 miles an hour, 3 days for sure. Is October a good time to go? I say absolutely. When I think of Eastern or Central Europe, I kind of think of those overcast autumn days, and that's exactly what we got in Prague in October. So let me start from the very beginning. I flew, let me start from the very beginning, and I want to talk about the products that I used on the way over there. United, I flew to Washington Dulles. Not much to say about United. It's a small plane, hour and a half flight. It was fine. IAD, Washington Dulles Airport. I think this is a super squared away, larger airport. I have heard people say negative things about it in the past, but I would like to fly in and out of there. I think it's a great airport. We'll talk about the lounge access they have in IAD in a little bit. Jason Kane says a heel by attacked the Champagne Galley in Air France. We'll get to Air France in just 1 second. The next up is Air France. I flew Air France. What's up, CJ? I flew Air France from Washington Dulles to Paris, where I had a 5.5 hour layover. Now, we're going to get more into this scheduling aspect here in a minute. But for me, having a 5.5 hour layover after an overnight flight is not optimal. That's pretty tough. The Air France product, I was on a 777 and I had the old style Air France business class. I did put a couple pictures up on my Instagram, but I don't want to say anything super negative about it, but it was definitely underwhelming. The old style business class is old. The chair kind of rocks a little bit. There's not as many options as far as how you can lay the seat. Um, just not really overwhelmed by the actual product. Now, I am coming off. Well, I don't really to compare it to a couple of different products. I would compare it probably equal to Singapore Airlines old business class, but it's nothing compared to Qatar Airways Q suites. Nothing at all. The Air France soft product, the service, I don't really have anything great to say about that either. I had really high expectations for the service, and I thought it was going to be a really big deal. And it was really just the word I can use is underwhelming. It was just okay. Now, is there value in this Air France old style business class? Absolutely. We talked about the cents per point redemption and we talked about the availability and things like that. It's a great program. But is Air France old style business class going to knock your Aunt Connie's socks off? It's not. Aunt Connie is going to be a little bit disappointed if you think you're knocking her socks off with this. Now, how do you get the new style business class? When I find out, I'll definitely put that out there because I do think that the new style business class is probably a lot better. So moving on, I'm in Paris 5.5 hours early in the morning after an overnight flight. Everyone that I've talked to says that Charles de Gaulle Paris airport is fairly difficult to navigate and to get around. I would say that's probably true. This was a little bit difficult for me being half asleep. And they have a lot of kind of, I want to say, weird procedures. Like you have to go through this serpentine line just to go outside and take a bus to a different terminal. So it was fine, but it was a little bit big, a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot to do to get to your connection. The Air France lounge. Honestly, again, this is the theme for this trip. The lounge was fine. Was it over the top nice? No. Keith says, "Will Aunt Connie throw her socks at you?" Aunt Connie will not throw her socks at you because it's fine, but she's not going to do all the things you want her to do either, just because of the Air France product. What's up, John? Anthony Pejea or Pereira, however you pronounce that. So Air France Lounge, it was fine. It was crowded. It was a little bit weird. There were a lot of people lying around sleeping, which you could probably understand early morning in an airport. So 5.5 hour layover at Charles de Gaulle, and then a quick business class flight to Prague. John's flying Air France to Paris in April. Now, John, we're going to talk about flying Air France to Paris in just a minute. And I think that's going to be a lot better than kind of how I scheduled this. If you just joined us, I do have a Czech Republic cold, so I apologize for my voice. JP Knowledge is in the house. So second business flight. European business class is a little bit different. It's really nothing to it. So an hour and a half, hour, 40-minute flight to Prague. And when I got to Prague, it was kind of exactly how I thought it would be traveling to a former Eastern Bloc country. Some of the architecture out away from the city was that old Soviet type buildings. The airport was really simple, but I will say this. The time it took for me to land, grab my bag, and leave the airport was moments. It was empty. There was nothing going on. It was literal moments. It was the fastest I ever got out of an airport in my life. And as I'm in an Ubering to my hotel, uh, Dino texts me. He's in Istanbul or somewhere connecting, and he says, "How long was customs?" And that's when I really, John, thank you, sir. John is starting a cough drop fund. I appreciate it, John. I'm going to need him. And JP Knowledge says he's always sick after traveling. Everybody in Europe coughs. That's just it. Everybody in Europe is trying to get you sick. Matt Welter has the same issue. But where was I? Oh, Dino texts me and says, "How long did it take you to go through customs?" And this is where my brain kind of exploded. Now, I had been traveling all night and for the better part of the day. So I'm trying to figure out why I didn't go through customs. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, did I leave the airport without going through customs? So I start doing some research and I start trying to figure this out. And apparently, I went through a customs line in Paris. Paris stamped my passport. And since I'm staying within the European Union, I didn't have to do customs again. Kind of confusing, but after doing some research and kind of going online and asking the internet experts, I was okay with it. I really thought, what are they going to do anyway? But it's not like I try to sneak into the Czech Republic. So yeah, yeah, you definitely need a vacation from your vacation, and you're right, Vincent. So I'm in Czechia, Czech Republic. Um, like I said earlier, beautiful architecture is nice. The city really is built to support tourism. The city is built to showcase its strengths, and it's built in a way where they take on a lot of tourists and they have a lot of facilities set up for tourists. One thing I thought was really weird, though, in the last few years, we've all been taught that they don't tip in Europe. Well, in Czech Republic, they are very um, they make you very aware that they expect a tip everywhere. The servers at the restaurants made sure that you knew you could tip them. I saw a guy the first night we ate. I saw a server chase down a guy and said, "Sir, it's no good." The guy says, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The food was no good." He goes, "No, the food was fine." He goes, "You didn't tip me." So at least in Czech Republic, they do expect tips. So if you're a non-tipper, they're probably going to chase you down and ask you for a tip. Yeah, Wong Wei said it's the first time I've heard that in Europe. I was of the understanding that you didn't tip or you barely tipped in Europe. When I was in Germany, they were pretty emphatic that they did not expect a tip and they didn't really want a tip. But in Czech Republic, or at least in Prague, they were very open about they wanted tipped, you know. So there's that. Here, it's funny. I can't even read my notes here. I can't read my own writing. Um, yeah, like John Gwynn says, it's an insult to tip people in some countries, especially if it's a low amount. They will give it back to you. Not so in Prague, anyway. So the first hotel I stayed at, I used the American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts, and I want to kind of touch on that. I don't want to do a super detailed report on the hotel. I just want to kind of confirm with a lot of people how much value you can get from fine hotels and resorts. So I booked 2 nights at the Grand Mark Prague Hotel. And the only video I saw on this hotel was a guy really giving it a pretty good bashing, really complaining a lot. Said that he didn't get an upgrade, some other things. So I don't know how much of an upgrade I got. I do think I got a upgrade to a suite, but it's Europe. And here's the problem when I go on these kinds of trips. If you need 2 beds, you're going to be severely limited on the kinds of upgrades you're going to get. So if you're bringing your wife or your significant other, you probably get a great upgrade. If you need 2 beds, it's going to be a little bit different. So I was the first one to get to the hotel. And obviously, me and Dino need 2 beds. We're not sleeping together. We have a suite. So I go into the bedroom, and it's basically uh, a bed about the size of a full size bed, maybe a queen. I'm not sure, but it was maybe a normal bed, maybe a little smaller, but it was 2 beds connected. So I had to take the beds and push them away and stick like a table in between. And when I did that, I, I don't know if I have I'll see if I have a picture of it. I'll post it on my Instagram. But when I did that, it formed 2 baby beds. So we actually had what looked like to us little kids' beds at this super fancy hotel. Was it a big deal? Not really. But I did almost fall out of it the second night while I was sleeping. So kind of weird, kind of a European thing. The bed situation is absolutely different in Europe. We were lucky in Germany to have like a 2-bedroom suite with big beds, so that didn't matter. Um, yeah, Keith S says what happens in Europe stays in Europe. You're absolutely right. So if something did happen, I'd never share it, but but we definitely had 2 beds. Um, David Ruiz says not to brag, but probably because I was sick the week before traveling. Well, either way, this is the season, right? We're all kind of getting the bug. SoCal Skater says same in Switzerland. They were told not to tip. Switzerland, yeah, that's a different animal than Czechia, I think. But I thought it was strange, and I wanted to mention it here. If anybody else can corroborate that or to back it up, I thought it was weird that I was kind of noticeably reminded to tip by the Czech people. MR says in European countries, you can only tip in cash because the option is unavailable. Actually, with their credit card readers, they did have a lot of tips. You could tip there. Um, Wong says Switzerland is expensive. You're right. John says no tipping in Iceland. Yeah. So for what it's worth, this could, I'm sure it's not unique to my trip, but I thought it was strange enough worth to where it was worth mentioning here. But back to the grand mark, man, the benefits for the fine hotels and resorts was absolutely worth it. The $100 property credit was just food and beverage, so we ordered room service for lunch one day. The free breakfast was a just a remarkable, unending selection of different breakfast foods. Huge, giant breakfast of traditional breakfast with your eggs and your bacon, to all the different breads, all the different fruits, fresh fruit in Czechia in October. It was big time. The, I don't know what that breakfast would have cost, but I would value it pretty high for the fine hotels and resorts. We did use the late checkout, so we didn't leave until about 3 o'clock that last day. So fine hotels and resorts really paid off. What else do I have here? David Ruiz says he only tipped 2 times in Switzerland and in Germany, and only 10%. Um, Bagel Square wants a map of these tipping countries. Uh, MR says Romania is a 100% just a tip country. I've been to Romania a couple times. Probably my favorite place I've ever been in Europe, actually. I really, really like the whole Dracula, Eastern Bloc, Black Sea, European stuff. Very cool place. Um, I really don't think I'll ever go back. I don't think my wife will want me to go back because when I went there, I was a young, good looking kid and I had way too much fun. So probably the last time I'll ever be there. Mr. Bobby Yakuza, welcome. Serbia was dope. Yeah, I do want to check out Belgrade, Serbia. It's on the list. We'll see how that goes. Now, the next 2 nights, I stayed at the Hilton Old Town in Prague. You guys know I like to talk about Hiltons and I like to talk about the different value I get there. Now, when I did my video before I left, I mentioned that the Hilton Old Town did not give me a great cents per point valuation for the Hilton Honors points. And it was just over half a cent a piece. Now, once I got there, I think I ended up getting upgraded twice. I got upgraded, but did I get upgraded to anything super cool? No. We got upgraded to a corner room. Let me get a drink of water because I'm sounding like a dog barking. Sorry about that, guys. I don't normally like to eat or drink while I'm doing these things. But Hilton, This is what made the Hilton worth that lower redemption. Couple upgrades, giant full size queen beds, corner room. The free breakfast was amazing, and the executive lounge access. Now, sorry, this is the first time I've ever stayed at a Hilton where the executive lounge was open. And I will say you can get as much value as you want from that executive lounge. For instance, coffee and drinks the whole time it's open, but they'll also do a happy hour from 5 to 7 where they'll have a bunch of food, snacks, and even some real food like cheese sticks. But they'll also have all the booze you can drink. I'm not a huge boozer. I don't even think I had any booze there at the executive lounge, but I did drink a lot of Czech beer. But that executive lounge at the Hilton, if I was going to do any work, that would be a great place to do work, a great place to grab a cup of coffee. Because in your room you have that weird coffee machine that sucks. You can go to a real coffee machine in the lounge. I just staying at this Hilton Old Town Prague really reaffirmed my loyalty to Hilton because I really enjoyed the value I got there. A lot of people say Serbia was dope. Serbia is great. Belgrade, Hilton Belgrade was incredible. Wong says Hyatt lounges are very similar to what I'm saying. I'll never see one because I'll never stay 2,000 nights in a Hyatt like I would need to get the globalist status. Um, okay, so let me talk about some of my mistakes. I want to talk about two different things, which I guess are the same. So, scheduling my return trip. These are the mistakes I made, and I'm glad I was by myself learning this and not with my family. Return trip, I scheduled my flights too close together. So you're doing these sweet spot redemptions, my sweet spot redemption was Prague to Paris to Washington D.C. for 55,000 Air France miles. I still had to schedule my other positioning flight from DC back to Columbus, back home. And I scheduled that one too close to my return flight. Now I'll tell you the story about what happened. It's kind of, it's funny now, but I wasn't really laughing at the time. When I looked at it the day I'm leaving, I'm thinking I only had about 48 or 50 minutes between landing in DC to getting on another plane. Here's why that's substantial. Here's why that sucks. I had to get my bag from Air France and then recheck it with United because you can't marry those reservations. So that's going to take time, right? And when I looked at the times, I thought to myself, it's just not even worth trying. It's so close together. We're not going to be able to do this. So I wasn't going to even try. I looked and I tried to reschedule, and United told me if I canceled and rescheduled now, it would cost me another $200 for the later flight. But if I just missed my flight, then they would reschedule me for free. So that's something everyone should know, at least with United. If you miss your flight, they will schedule you on the next one if that's possible. So I tell my wife, at this point, I've been traveling 20 hours or something. It's been a very, very long day. So I tell my wife, hey, I'm not going to make that flight. You're going to have to pick me up later in the night. And my 7-year-old said, well, if anybody can make that flight, Dad can. I've seen him in action. So you guys that are dads or big brothers or whatever the case may be, you know what happens then. You have to give it a shot. So I get off the plane, I get off the Air France flight, and I start jogging. Like MR says, challenge accepted. And I said, I'm getting it. This I'm obviously I'm not a runner, but I am probably more out of shape right now than I ever have been in my entire life. But no, I'm going to make it. Let's do this. So I get to Washington Dulles. I run. I kind of throw some elbows and get on a shuttle and do all this. And the shuttle takes a little while. I get to customs or yeah, I guess it's customs. So I have global entry. I don't get paid by Global Entry, but I want everyone to know that Global Entry is 100% worth getting one of those credit cards that reimburses it. It's worth going and doing that stupid interview, because when everybody is lined up for customs, you can run right through and scan your eyeballs or take your picture or your passport or whatever and just go. I went through customs in no time, and I mean no time. I might have waited 45 seconds to a minute while somebody was in front of me. So I'm good, right? I get to the baggage, and the baggage takes a few minutes. Not too terrible, but it still takes a few minutes. So now I have my bag, and I think at this point I had 32 minutes. And I don't know when check-in stops. So I've already checked in, I guess, but I have to check this bag. Well, Washington Dulles has kind of remote United stands where you can check your bag remotely. So I run to this first kiosk thing, print out a sticker with the scan code, and I give it to the remote baggage guy. Bags checked. Good. Now I only have to do is run. But remember, when you come in on an international flight, you have to leave and come back through security. Well, clear. Guys, I've said it 100 times. I really stand by clear being worth it. There's just going to be, if you travel more than once in a long while, there's going to be times where you have to do this stuff fast. So I kind of jog to security and I get to clear. There's no line. There's no nothing. The guy says, let me check your boarding pass. And this is where things went just so slightly wrong. Guy says, there is no AC3. When this updates, go to the new gate, because there's no such thing as AC3. And it's Washington Dulles, John, IAD. So I'm like, well, this guy must know what he's talking about. So that's two different gates, right? A and B. So I'm running. I go down the escalator and I get to the tram. You have to take a tram to the gates. A and D over here, B and C over here. So I took the wrong one. Because it showed up on my boarding pass, AC3 and B29. So I said, I'll go to B29. That's where everything kind of fell apart. I went to B29 and it's not my flight. So I have to run from, and this is a straight line. Washington Dulles is CBA. It's just a straight line, but it's a long ways. So I have to run. I don't know, a couple miles total I ran. And it's kind of funny. I'm 260 pounds and I have my CPAP machine strapped to me, my backpack, and I'm just flying through this airport and I'm soaking wet, but not like fresh working out soaking wet. This is 20 plus hours of traveling. Plus I'm sweating. My legs are numb. But I'm sitting there looking at my watch. I'm like, I got this. This is money. I don't leave till 5:33. It's only 5:31 and I can see it. I'm just waiting for them to call and they're going to say, hey, are you close? And I'm going to say, yes, I'm close. Just hold on. Well, they didn't call. And back up a little bit. For the last 45 minutes, I've been on the app chatting with United, asking for assistance, saying, hey, this is really close. Is there any way one of you guys can get a hold of the airport and come pick me up on one of those, cart things like an old person? Couldn't get anything done that way. But I'm still good, right? I'm still running. I'm still really close. The flight left at 5:33. I got there at like 5:32. I can see the bird. I can see it. And the guy says, boarding's closed. and I'm not the type of person that gets super excited, and it's really hard to make me mad. I'm one of those guys, if there aren't shots being fired, I'm not getting too excited. But this is like, I tried so hard, and I kind of got a little bit mad at the guy, and I shouldn't have. I didn't say anything mean to him. I didn't call him anything, but just the complete uncaring. Boarding's over. Nope, boarding's over. And it was just like, but I can see this is my flight right there. That's my plane. I can see it. And he goes, nope. And I was like, oh. I don't know what I expected of the guy. I get there's thousands of people come through there every day, and some people miss flights. But every other time I've been almost late, they've called me and said, hey, are you on your way? it's hard for me to understand that they couldn't hold that plane for like it's 30 seconds or a minute. But, you know, challenge accepted, like someone said, and I failed. I failed. It happens. So, and then here comes the funny part. When I was on the app with United, they told me that if I missed the flight to talk to the gate agent, they'll put me on the next flight. Pretty simple, right? Well, this guy that had completely no compassion whatsoever, which I understand, I don't mind at all, says he hands me a card with a scan code on it and says, just scan that and you can chat with somebody to get a new flight. And I go, yeah, I've been chatting with them for 40 minutes, and they said you would do it. So long story short, as that happens, I got on the next flight, which was I think 5 hours later, almost 5 hours later. Which, yeah, that sucks because now I'm not leaving till like I don't know 10 o'clock at night, and it puts me into 26, 27 hours of a travel day, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's rough. That's a lot of hours, even solo. Cesar says he loves Clear. The guy who worked at Clear got me because if I would have took the right tram to the A gate, I'd have been money. I'd have made it. I'd have been home 5 hours earlier. Oh, I would have been and I would have made the challenge, which is really what we're talking about. Failing the challenge, not missing a. Who cares about missing a flight? I failed the challenge. So that was my funny thing, but it was a little bit an opportunity because now I'm now I'm in a position where it's not the end of the world, but it is kind of a downer for the travel day. I'm soaking wet. Like my whole shirt is soaking wet. My legs are numb. I'm tired. It's been a super long day. This is about the third or fourth sweat I've broken out in. So I don't look all that great, and I'm sure I don't smell all that great. It's just one of those days, right? So guess what is my saving grace? Can anybody guess? The Capital One Lounge at IAD. So, and which ironically was super far away. So I have to turn around and do the 2 miles back. But I did it. MR got it. Absolutely. Ruiz got it. So I get all the way back there and I have to ask for some help finding it. And I get there. And listen, you guys have not heard me really talk up Capital One before. You've not really heard me talk about the Venture X in a super positive light. But let me tell you, when an old, fat, nasty traveler walked in there like me, that lady was super, super nice. She told me that if I wanted to take a nap, she would open up one of the, I think it was maybe like a baby feeding room or some other kind of multi-purpose room. She said, I could open that up for you and you could take a nap. She goes, there's coffee over here. Just amazingly hospitable and nice. And that's not a big deal to a lot of people. But for that person that day at that time, it was like having grandma or mom. Not so much Aunt Connie, but like a warm, caring person saying, come on in. So I get into this lounge, and it is a little bit different than the Dallas one. But the food is so good. Listen, did I cry? No, I didn't cry. I almost cried when the gate agent said boarding's closed. I actually laughed, but I wanted to cry inside. But the Capital One Lounge was for things to go wrong. Man, it was so valuable, such a valuable piece of that whole travel puzzle, where I can go in there and I can get it's not like high-end gourmet food, but for me, it's really delicious comfort food. If you like booze, you can get a drink, the cola, all that good stuff. Great coffee. Got all that stuff, set my laptop up, watch some YouTube videos, super comfortable seats. And remember, I got 4 hours to kill. So to not be out there with Adam's nasty ass kids and it wasn't crowded at all. And the people that worked there were super nice. They had Tyson Fury was fighting Francis Ngannou, and one of the workers was watching on his laptop or whatever. So I went over there and talked to him. Just super nice, hospitable people that made that situation that was super not great I don't know how to say it because it happens. I don't want to say it's a catastrophe because it happens. A catastrophe would be having to stay the night in Washington D.C. and fly out in the morning. Now I do want to mention that the reason why I have to get back is because it's trick or treat the next day, and I can't miss trick or treat. So that was that story. But I can't say enough about that Capital One Lounge for the times you need it. I didn't stop there on the way there. I didn't have enough time. But when I needed it, man. So when we go back and we talk about how do you value airport lounges, well, I don't care about this. I don't care. If you travel, you're going to get stuck in those situations. And it's just amazing how much easier my night was because I had the privilege of going to that lounge, and it kind of felt like coming in out of the rain. So props to Capital One for the people that work there. Amazing people that work there. Really appreciate them. John says it's nice to know I'm still. Every trip I go on, I learn something, and I really want to get into the habit of bringing that back and sharing that with you guys because scheduling my flights too close together, I did it to myself. I don't know why I didn't notice that or why I thought that was possible. I think at the time I thought I'm going to take a carry-on. So if you take out the checked bags, I'm good. I'm good in that situation. I'm making that no problem. And I think what happened was as the season turned and it got cooler out, I knew I was going to be bringing more clothes and bigger clothes. So I checked the bag and it kind of changed everything. I was thinking it before you said it. Yeah, MR says showers. Air France had showers as well. And if I'm a like serial showerer. So flying into Paris in the morning, I don't mind taking a shower during that 5 hours for sure. I'll get a quick shower. Um, Lounge access for the win. Absolutely. Say sorry for those things. Uh, it is clutch. It's what does Uncle Luke dress up for as Halloween? I didn't dress up as anything. How I do my Halloween is my wife dressed up and she has as many people over here as she can, probably because she knows I don't like it. And she takes the parents and the kids trick or treating, and me and my dad pass out candy. So we don't dress up. We pass out candy and kind of be the I don't know. We kind of make things not too wild here. Yeah, that's it. So will this go a long way for me holding the Venture X? Yeah, man, I think so. This not only does this. Here's the thing about me: is like if something like that happens to me, it's so impactful that it will change my travel plans. If I can fly out of JFK and Washington Dulles, relatively same value, I might do Washington Dulles just because I know that not only do they have that Capital One lounge, but I know at least for me, the people that work there are good people. That factors in absolutely. And Keith S says, do you think about canceling the Venture X?" That's tough, man, because I can schedule a lot of my travel out of DFW or IAD. I know I can go to Japan through DFW. So it definitely has a big factor of keeping it for sure. PM says lounge is where it's at. You're right, man. It's the second time that I've had a really rough travel day where more than two, but at least the second time where it made it right. All board, boarding's closed. Mimar's going to dress as a pair of Aunt Connie socks. She takes a shit. Sometimes they get knocked off. Bagel Square says he'll connect through IAD over Newark for sure. I think you're right. David Williams says, how much was the taxi from Prague to airport? Here's the thing. I don't know. I took a Uber airport from the airport to the city, and actually, I might be able to look. It's hard because it's so many Czech crowns and then when you get your like your receipt, it's in dollars. So I'll take it. I'll look at my Uber app real quick and check it out. Um, David Ruiz says I've made 4 of my flights pass through Denver, IAD, or DFW. Okay, so man, I don't blame you. I think that's a good. I think that's a good. I love those lounges. What the heck? Okay, so I have 20. Yeah, this is going to be tough. 541 Czech crowns from the airport to the city. And that's all I have for that one. You can translate that online, I guess, but it wasn't too terribly expensive. Um, and it was easy. They line up right outside the. How you do it in Prague is you go to the Uber app and you'll choose Uber Airport, and instead of waiting on a driver, you just walk up to the one that's in line and show them your code. So they're always there apparently. So that makes it pretty easy. Super easy. Super fast moving through that airport. Even when I left, I should not. I left. I got there way too early. I didn't have to. I got there probably an hour and a half earlier than I needed to. So really easy to move around there. But here's yeah, okay. So Bagel Square and David Williams, 23, $24, which I don't know if you consider that a lot. To me, that's just a necessary evil. So I don't really worry about how much it costs. One thing I wanted to talk about with my mistake and with that scheduling I did, I want to bring up kind of a what I would consider maybe a strategy. I take short trips, so it does matter how long it takes me to get there, and it does matter how many flights it is. So if you're taking short trips, 5, 6 days to Europe, most people probably aren't doing that. But if you are, this is what I found. I can't do 3 flights in one day comfortably. 3 flights in one day, not only does it take a full overnight to get there, but when I get there, I'm not in a good mood and it kind of ruins that whole night. So when I go to Europe from now on, I am only going to fly into the direct flights from wherever international airport I'm flying to. And what I mean by that is I can do Columbus to Chicago to Vienna, but I'm not going to take a flight from Vienna. So the next time I go to Europe, I'll be flying into whatever great deal I can get or a major city. And then if I want to go to Prague from there, I will take that as a side quest or some type of side trip. So I won't, that's just me. 3 flights in one day is too much. 2 flights is my maximum for trips under a week. Now, if you're going to Europe for a month, then it probably doesn't matter. But I don't travel like that. Chicago to Amsterdam to Paris to Tunisia. That's too much for me. That's a SoCal Skater says, do you use your CPAP on flights? Listen, I do. I 100% do, but I've never been able to sleep. I don't know if it's because, I'm just unlucky. Sometimes the plane's super hot or it's just not big enough, or it's just kind of, I never used to have a problem sleeping anywhere. But I've not been able to sleep much on any plane, on any business class ticket, even with my CPAP. So I wish I could. If I could sleep all night or 6 hours, wake up, get off the plane, be ready for the day, that'd be great. But I don't. Um, so that was my trip. I don't really have too many credit card. Uh, MR, I hear that if the power outlet is broken. Oh, wow. If the power outlet's broken in economy, they'll upgrade me. That's interesting. That might be a good way to. Some of those, and that's the thing about the older business class. Some of those outlets suck. I usually bring adapters to make it even more secure, but sometimes they don't work very well. A meathead channel talked about it. Nice. What John asked, what cards did I use in Prague? I really only used 2 cards in Prague. I kind of kept it super simple. And even then, I made a mistake on one of them, which you might think is kind of funny. I used the Capital One Venture X, and I used the Navy Federal Flagship Rewards Card. Now, why did I use the Navy Federal Flagship Rewards Card? Well, remember, I was just coming off this cash back kind of experiment, and I wanted to kind of keep that going a little bit. And Navy Federal sent me a promotion: spend $500 on the NFCU flagship and get $50. Glenn Ardonia's in the house. He's just got back from Istanbul. He spent an extra week in Istanbul. He was going to be one of the security at one of the sheikh's harems, at one of the Turks' harems. So he had a side job there. But I used the NFCU flagship rewards card because they gave me a promotion that said spend $500 and get an extra $50 cash back. Well, I added up all my purchases and I thought I was good. So I switched over to the Capital One Venture X, and kind of reviewing it today, I missed it by $35 because one of the charges at the beginning of the month was actually September 30th and it just went through October 1st. So I didn't even get the $50. It happens. Glenn, how was the Sheik's harem? Was it nice, or was it one of the dirty ones? He probably doesn't want to say. He probably has a, what do you call that, a non-disclosure agreement with some of the sultans and sheiks over there. The boy gets around. All right, so that is my things I learned in Prague and the things I learned while scheduling this. Now, does that turn me off with Air France at all? No. I can't wait to book another Air France flight. I can't wait to try to get into the new business class. Glenn says Istanbul was nice. I'm sure it was. Very lucky to go there. I had to come home and trick or treat. But I will, every time I go on one of these trips, I do learn stuff. Wong Wei says, I took Air France business class both ways. And I did the 2 European business class flights, which are probably not at all worth it. Just do economy in Europe, I guess. Yeah, David Ruiz says, especially now with the 50,000 Saver Awards. And I did see, I just saw the 50,000 Air France miles from Minneapolis to Amsterdam for Valentine's Day. And I thought, man, that's a great redemption. I really want to hit it, but I've been traveling too much. I need to kind of cool it a little bit. Sledge Inc. team is in the house. Yeah, so I did not book the Minneapolis to Amsterdam for Valentine's Day, but I think that's a killer redemption. And that was on KLM. I think it's their new flight, the new KLM business class. Yeah, MR says Air France flights don't have individual air vents in economy, so boarding is hot. Yeah, no thanks. I don't recommend economy travel across the pond unless you're getting a really good deal and you're built like that. Sorry, guys. Sledge, you got here right when I'm about to wrap it up. I think I got about 10 minutes left in me, and I have to go to sleep. We caught a Czech bug, a Czech cold over there. It's kicking my butt. How was the food in Prague? Glad you asked that, because I did think it was different. Dino, if you're still on here, in my opinion, the food in Prague or in Czechia is bland. There's a lot less taste. We even had desserts at the happy hour in the executive lounge, and I asked Dino if this was even sweetened. Like it was barely sweet. The food is really bland, but I will say the one meal I had that I really liked was the schnitzel. They have a lot of influence coming down from Germany, and like the Bohemian people take their cues from Germany, so they have a lot of the same foods. Shishkava. Dino loved the shishkava. He ate it a couple times. So, and he thought of it. Was it bland, Dino? It wasn't super flavorful, right? Wong Wei says go to Amsterdam in April for the tulip season. That sounds like a good idea, man. But PM, the food in Prague, I would say is not bad at all. I wouldn't go there for the food. I wouldn't be afraid to order any American food. I did. I ordered a cheeseburger because their food was good. Doner kebab. They do have doner kebab. Um, so yeah, like David Ruiz says, he likes the schnitzel and doner kebabs in Germany. They have both of those things in Prague as well. Oh my goodness, Stan just came in with a super thanks. Thank you, sir. Stan the Credit Frog was adding to the Halls Fund. Thank you, sir. I am glad to be back stateside. Um, and we're talking about shish kebab and Czech food, Stan. Dino says it's good food, flavorable. Get him some Ricola. Yeah, I could use some Swiss Ricola. Oh yeah, and Glenn had the chimney ice cream thing. I didn't eat very many sweets out there because I'm already sweet enough. But I don't remember him loving that though. I think he ate it, but I don't think he really loved it. I don't think it was quite as sweet as he wanted it to be. Guys, do me a favor and slap that like button if you're still around. Appreciate you. All right, guys, I am going to wrap this up. Appreciate the super thanks from everybody. I appreciate the likes. I will have some new material really soon. I'll be working on it this weekend. And Glenn asked, how was the fried cheese? It was just fried cheese. One of the signature dishes in Czechia is fried cheese. And if you've ever had fried cheese, that's pretty much what it is. No big deal. But the beer was really good. Beer was great. Wong Wei wants to see some clips from the travels. I got a little bit of clips. I'll try to include them in some of the next videos. And like Ruiz says, Filipino food is better. And Dino cooks lumpias whenever we get a kitchen. So, all right, guys, I appreciate everybody stopping by. And stay tuned for more good stuff and more great travel videos. And I'm signing off. Thank you.